Assalamu alaikum to all. I hope you are all fine by the grace of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Myself Abdul Al Tushi. My ID number is 193235726. Today I am going to discuss a very important topic, which is 3R in apparel industry. I hope you will like it. Here you can see I made a slide, 3R in apparel industry. Textile is our heart, textile is our pride, it is our motivation actually. So you can see my picture here, myself Abdullah Tushi, and you can see my ID number here and also the course name Apparel Manufacturing. So in the very first slide the question arises what we can reduce. So first of all let's discuss about 3R. Actually 3R it produced from three words. First of all, reduce, reuse and recycling. So what is reduce? Reduce means something like which we are decreasing. It can be its uses or something like that. And when you are calling reuse, it means we are using it for second time or third time or fourth time. So something like that. Then recycling. We all quite familiar with recycling word. It means like we are using water and after recycling we are also using this water. So this is the process actually. So first of all the question arises what we can reduce. So here you can see some parameters. First of all, time. We can reduce time in our factories. Water, we all know that we use huge water in textiles industry, so we can also reduce water. Electricity, we all know that we have 6,000 or 7,000 factories all over Bangladesh. As a result, in these factories we can see very big establishments where thousands of workers are working all day long, and that's why we need huge electricity here, huge electric power, what can I say, light, fan, etc. So here we can reduce electricity. Then chemical, we all know that chemicals, we use chemicals in dyeing, in printing, in pre-treatments, after treatments, so many times. So we can also reduce chemicals. Then extra management system. So extra management is something like what can I say, in our factories we see many people working, but in this in this manforce, in this manpower, we find some people who don't contribute as expected. So in this case we can reduce this extra management system, not system actually, extra management, it means extra people we can reduce. So how we can reducing? If I talk about the time, in this case we can use machineries which take less time, what can I say, comparing to conventional systems. And on the other hand we can make a committee who will observe where are we taking much time, where we can minimize time. So as a result it will help us to reduce the time. If we do so, if we reduce time, it will helpful for our shipment. We will we will do our shipment in correct time, because we all know that if we fail to do shipment in correct time, it may be rejected by buyers. So we have to think about it carefully. Then water, how can we reduce water? In this case the answer is quite similar, that we can use machineries which take less water. We can use those kind of chemicals which requires little water. We can produce the fabrics, the yarns or other stuffs which take less water. So in this case we also reduce water by using efficient manforce who can effectively use the water of our factories. Then RMG consumption, we can reduce RMG consumption. Reducing it means like sometimes you'll find that we are wearing many dresses uh, a day. Like when our Eid festival occurs, we will find in morning people wear a dress. In evening, when they go outside, they wear other dresses. And in night, at night, when we find some programs, in this time they also wear different dresses. So one day we are using three different dresses, and we buy several dresses for Eid ul Fitr or Eid ul Azha or something like this kind of festival. So it's it's totally a matter of fact, a matter of sad that we are using huge quantity of what can I say, apparels. So in this case, we can reduce our energy consumption. Electricity. I already said that we are using huge electricity in factories. So in this case, we can reduce electricity by switching off when we don't need. We can switch off our AC, our lights, our fans, other electric devices. At the same time, we can also what can I say, install the machineries which are electricity efficient. So in this case, we can keep focusing. Then chemicals, we are using huge quantity of chemicals in textile factories for dyeing, for treatment, for printing, etc. So in this case, we can use those kind of chemicals which we need less chemical, more quality, and more production. In this, we have to believe in this theory. Then extra management, I already said we can establish a committee. They will find out which individual persons are don't working carefully or don't contributing as expected as we are doing from them. So in this case, we can reduce, or what can I say, can do this work. Okay. Then reuse. If we talk about reuse, you can see writing textile sector is the core sector in Bangladesh. Of course, it is. And if we talk about reducing, we can reduce RMG product, reuse actually, so not reduce, reuse RMG product. So in this case, the thing we can do is when we wear RMG products, when we buy, then after using for several times, we disposal it. So in this case, we will not do the same thing. We will give it to other people who need it actually, who are the needed. And sometimes you will find Manobatar Deal in our places of Dhaka. In these areas, we also put our products, RMG products, which we are not using it. Sometimes, in winter season, people are what can I say, they feel very cold. So in this case, we can do the same thing. We can give these products to the poor people. Then jute. So jute is the product of after cutting the fabrics. After cutting the fabrics, we find jute, and we all know that jute is now widely using in many production line, like making cushions, making pillows, and matrix, something like that. Then yarn and fabric. You all know that sometimes we find yarn which we actually don't use for several reasons. Sometimes we find Gara yarn, and in the case of fabric, we find different shade of fabric which we can't reproduce. And sometimes fabrics got discolored and uneven due to false dyeing. In this case, sometimes we dispose of this fabric and yarn. So don't do this. In this case, we can reuse it. Then wastage in raw material. We know that in raw material, especially in cotton, we find some wastages like seed cotton and something like that. So in this case, we can also reuse these raw materials. Now question arises, how can we do these reuses? So in RMG product, I already discussed. In jute, already discussed. Yarn and fabric, I already discussed. In wastage in raw material, I didn't discussed. So in wastage in material, if we want to reuse it, especially cotton, seed cotton, and other stuffs, we all know that seed cotton are very good food for animals, especially cows and domestic animal especially. And you will be glad to know from seed cotton we find a oil which is lubricant oil, and it is very very what can I say, costly wastage we can say. Then recycling, what we can recycling, what we can waste liquor. We all know that when we are using liquor in water for dyeing or printing or something like that, in this case we find a huge waste liquor, and it is we use it again by doing ETP plant, where we are uh, doing treatment to effluents. Then water is also important, we all know that. We can also reuse it by doing several treatments. Then yarn, in not in Bangladesh but in China we find that they are recycling yarn, and this yarn, I think this yarn are recycled yarn are used in denims. Then fabric, we can also recycling this fabric. We can what can I say, we can make this fabric in the fiber form. Then we can also produce yarn and then fabric, then apparel products. The solvent, we all know that in spinning, wet spinning, তারপর melt spinning, dry spinning, we find here solvents. So we can recycle it by recycle bin or takerin. From this we can recycle it. Then how can we recycle? I already discussed water, yarn, solvent, waste liquor. I already discussed. So if we able to do these things, this recycling, then it will be very beneficial for our environment, for our factories. We will be able to make some extra pennies. Then it will be also beneficial for our employees. So thank you very much for listening. It was presented to our beloved Madam Murshida ma'am. She is Assistant Professor of Textile Department, Deford International University. And thank you, ma'am, for giving me the extra extended time to give my presentation. I hope you like it.